Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Reasonable Effective Podcast. I am Uncommon Fossil and joined, as always, by 10 types.
Yep. Hello, everyone.
All right, I realized my volume levels are not what I to set them to, so I got to adjust my volume levels, and maybe you want to do yours. So anyway, we're Pocket's been out a couple of weeks. We got a new set recently to regular the regular TCG and live. So what are we going to talk about? I think we're going to talk about Magic the Gathering Commander format. That seemed to be what your idea was, and how we might bring that into the Pokemon TCG. Is that kind of
Uh,
what we're talking about today?
exactly. We were thinking of ideas, and we've talked about Pocket a lot recently, and Surging Sparks a lot recently, and so
Yep.
we wanted to think about something different. And I've been watching some Magic the Gathering Commander videos. This is a bit unfortunate, but I don't know if it's unfortunate, but the Magic videos are generally better than Pokemon videos, TCG videos, in terms of like players. I don't know about collecting. I don't watch any of those videos, but there's just more people, I guess, who make like higher quality videos playing Magic the Gathering, and some of that is Commander format. So I don't play Magic, and you all, when's the last time you played Magic?
I don't know. It's been like a year or more, probably. Well, no, that's not true. I do arena occasionally. I backed off. Actually, I was doing Magic semi-daily up until a month ago. Once Pocket dropped, I stopped doing arena just because I don't want to do 3 games.
Yeah, okay.
Um,
So you know more about, like, I know just a little bit about Magic, and in general, a lot of the things are pretty like more or less like similar to Pokemon. There are obviously a lot of different differences, but um,
yeah.
and so Commander format, and I'm gonna explain kind of what I know. I'm sure I'm gonna leave out some things, but the big thing we're focusing on is it's a four-player format. I don't think it has to be four people, does it?
I
Like it
No, on
usually is, right?
this on the official Wizards of the Coast page, and they're the company behind Magic the Gathering. Um, it says it's for 3 to 5 players. So, but
Okay.
most commonly four.
Yeah. And you have a I'm looking this up online as well. Okay, so you have oh, and the games are like kind of long. I'm just looking at this. It says 120 minutes, which seems kind of long. But you have a
Right.
100 card deck, and you have a commander, which is, yeah, that is one of the cards. And the commander has a type, what's it, a color identity or like type identity, which is the types on the card. And then you
Right.
have all your cards in the deck are of that type. And then it's also singleton, right? So you have only one of
Yes.
each card. And how do the
Yeah.
commanders work?
So singleton except for your basic lands, kind of, which
Oh,
are
yeah.
like basic energies in Pokemon. Right. So, but singleton everything else. How do the commanders work?
Yeah.
So there is. Oh, this I don't. Doesn't have a diagram, but you have a commander zone, and you put your commander in the commander zone at the start of the game. So it's not in your deck, and but to put cards into play, you have to pay the mana cost. So if you can pay the mana cost for the commander, you slide it from the commander zone into play. If it ever gets knocked out, it instead of going in the discard pile, it goes into the commander zone again, and then you can recast it. But I believe it costs 2 more mana than it's the base than what the card itself says.
That'd be like colorless, I guess.
Yeah, I believe so. Yes, two
Okay.
colorless.
Oh, and then I'm looking here. It says commander damage. Oh, so that if they've been dealt 21 or more combat damage by the same commander, they lose.
Right.
And and then also, what was I gonna ask? So what makes, like, how do you choose your commander? Like, what
The
can be a
commit.
commander? It needs to be a creature, right? Or does it not need to be?
I believe. Well, there's some planeswalkers that can be as well. I'm
Oh,
not
okay.
sure.
But something
Um,
with like a health and like,
it's typically it's legendary creatures. I believe is what it started as because Commander actually was a player the players generated the game, and then actually eventually the company itself adopted it as accepted it and actually has printed some cards to help facilitate the format. And they even print like beginner commander decks, even though the game up until recently has been run by this format's been run by fans. So it's a legendary creature. They typically have multiple types of energy, I believe, or I'm sorry, mana.
yeah,
And
it doesn't really matter. We'll just say we'll be
no,
talking about energy soon enough. So
I know. And when you said Magic's like Pokemon, it's bet more accurate to say the reverse, right? Pokemon's
yeah.
like Magic because Magic was first.
Yep, like a year before, then Pokemon's like, oh, let's copy a bunch of things. But anyway, so and then
So
also,
yeah, go ahead.
I forgot what I was gonna. I think oh, so then
All right, so
Gym Leo Challenges is kind of like it's kind of based off of Commander in some ways. I don't think we're really gonna talk about it too much because a lot of the things have been said about Gym Leo Challenge already. I think people who are care about it are generally aware of it, and it's also not for players. That's a pretty crucial aspect. And there's a bunch of differences. uh, Gym Leader Challenge is relatively similar to like standard format. There are only a handful of differences, and so it's like kind of separate than standard. Certainly, it is separate, especially because Pokemon doesn't really have that like many different formats, but it's not like that different.
Yeah, so look, so Commander, a couple things I want to say. First off, as like it's typically like you said, 4 players. It's kind of taking the TCG experience with the deck building, but combining that with I think the tabletop experience because you're playing together as a group of say 4 players, and you're taking turns one after another. Um, and we'll talk about like a cube, which in some sense is like that with Pokemon, but it's all what player 1 player versus 1 player games. Here, it's all 4 people playing together. So that's an important part. I think you're trying to get the fun of the tabletop experience. You're trying to have the social interaction that goes along with the game, as well as the gameplay, right? You're trying to get that, but also bring in deck building and a love of a TCG you like. So how to combine that is a question. Like you said, it's a 100 card format in Magic the Gathering. If you're not familiar with it, is a 60 card deck in for standard play, just like Pokemon. So it's the 100 plus the commander. A big difference between in Magic is rather than the prize cards like in Pokemon to win the game, it is you have health, and you have 20 health, and the first player to lose all of their health loses the game. There's some other win conditions as well, but the main one is you lose your 20 health and you lose the game. For Commander, it's now 40 health, and you can attack any of the other 3 players at the table, or even multiple players depending on at a time. So how that I think that's a real challenge. How would the whole prize end win condition work for Pokemon? Because it's very different. Losing points, health points versus taking prize cards.
And in Commander, like you die and then you're out, and then the game keeps going, right?
Correct. Which could be a bad thing, right? If somebody gets knocked out early, you're sitting there, not doing much. Hopefully, you're sitting there with your friends, talking to each other. But because, and I think they, but because the way Magic is you're losing your health points. If there's like a player that's a really strong player at the table, the other 3 players are going to gang up on them. And also, if there's a player that ends up being a very weak player, the way the game started, no one's going to they're not going to get beat up on. You're going to let them stay in the game. So I think people getting knocked out early is less common. Whereas in Pokemon, if it'd be the first to take 6 prizes, or let's say you just made it like 8 prizes, just for argument's sake, you would still, once there's a weak player there, everyone would just target the weak player to get prizes as fast as possible. So a bad start, you're knocked out and just sitting there for a long time. So that's one of the questions. How would you bring it to Pokemon because of the way the games are constructed?
Yeah, I was thinking, so I thought about this a little bit before, and I was thinking you could do it, and this might be kind of bad, and would create some minor problems, but you could just like deal with them or ignore them. But you could say instead of like taking prizes when you take a knockout, it's the other way around. If you're knocked out, you take prizes, and if you take all your prizes, you lose. So you just have your prizes like a health system. Obviously, that's a
Hmm.
change, and there are certain issues with that, like Iono or whatever. But whatever, you don't need. That's just a few set of cards. So you could figure out something around that. But I feel
Yep.
like I don't know, just like giving a health system. I don't know. That's kind of weird though. But I guess like trying to reflect the because Pokemon TCG obviously isn't like Pokemon is a thing. And the Pokemon TCG is a I guess a spin-off of Pokemon. And so within Pokemon you have 6 Pokemon, and once you get all your 6 Pokemon knocked out, you lose. So in some ways that would make sense as well.
Yeah, I mean, how to work that's a question. A couple other things with Commander. Sorry. In Commander outside of bans, you can play any card from the very beginning of Magic, I believe. Which we probably will talk about U150 for Pokemon. That's the Pokemon game that so if you try to include all the way back to base set in Pokemon, it causes a lot of trouble. So I'm not sure
Does it
that
not
that's
do that
possible.
in Magic? I just kind of assumed it would, but I guess it doesn't. Like
What?
Pokemon has that using the old cards. Like, do the old cards interact more or less okay with the new cards?
I think so. I'm not as experienced about that because obviously, even when I've done it, I don't have the really old cards. So there are some bans with it. So I don't fully know, but I think it's a bigger problem with Pokemon because they've had so like things like abilities, Pokebodies, Pokepowers. Like, how does all that work out? It all gets a
Yeah,
little
and it's
weird
like,
if
oh,
you
I have my
try to do it
capital EX,
together.
I have my lowercase EX, I have my other lowercase EX. Can I play Gardevoir EX and Gardevoir EX and Gardevoir EX? And you can play
Right.
Gardevoir EX and Gardevoir EX, but not Gardevoir EX and Gardevoir EX. And
Well,
then also there's like the weird erratas and stuff like that.
right, and supporter rules. I don't know the history of Magic, obviously, anywhere near as well as the history of Pokemon. So I'm sure that there's weird stuff there too over the history. Um, I don't know how drastically it changed. Pokemon changed a lot over the from the Wizard of the Coast days to the latter days in terms of some card design and game decisions, which was all part of the growing process. But a couple things with Magic, which is some of the difficulties or questions you'd have to face with how do you bring it to Pokemon. First off, you only have 5 types of mana. We have 8 types of energy. So, and within the commander, it limits the
Yeah, but
types
you
of
would have
mana you
nine
can.
types, if you look at the full history.
Yeah,
I hate fairy type,
you're
but
bringing back fairy type, yeah. And we can't. And can we count double dragon energy as a type?
well, no, that doesn't provide dragon
That's just
energy.
special energy.
Yeah,
That's true. So, um,
but
but you
but there
have.
also there's wait, so artifacts don't have a color, or like the colors things in Magic?
Oh,
How
within
does that? Like you could just play them, I'm
there's
assuming.
certain. Yeah, the things that are colorless, you can with any type. You can put, yes, in your deck, I believe. And there's certain, I don't remember very well now. Certain types of cards don't have mana types specific to them,
Oh, and
and
then
then you
there's
can put
like
those in
weakness
any
as
deck.
well, and that gets like Magic doesn't have that.
Right. I mean, correct. I mean, the gameplay, the whole battling is different in Magic, so that complicates things. Oops, somehow. No, that's okay. But a couple things. What within Magic, the fact that you have like 8 types of energy, I still would say that because colorless counts for anything, right? And such, or not, no, 9 because we have fairy, and then we have 5. So if we want to bring the type or color restriction, energy restriction to the game, it's a bigger impact to Pokemon than Magic. So I'm not sure we go with that. The other thing is in terms of game design. Well, Magic seems to allow more formats than Pokemon because of the game design in general. I would say I
Yeah.
could be
Mhm.
wrong, but certainly more formats are played in Magic. And I don't just think that. I think part of it's game design, but some of the mechanics in the way they develop mechanics and add and keep mechanics is a little different. Like in Magic the Gathering, like you have different things like a rat card, and then certain things that if you for every rat you have in your like the discard or whatever, it has a certain effect. Let's say,
Mhm.
well, they've printed. I was looking at it, 98 rat cards from the beginning of the game. And like if it's something based on angel cards, there's 260 angel cards in Magic. So whereas Pokemon for anything, they don't have that. And don't forget it's a singleton format. So you need a lot of like angel, you're going to want to grab like 40, 50, 60 rat cards in your deck. And Pokemon, you're going to have a tough time doing that. So
Yeah, if you want to
um
play
it
like Mad Party, you can do like 60. Um, or United Wings, you can do 60.
right. So because of so some of it's the game design issues, and there may be more complications to Pokemon just because they designed the game differently in general too.
Yeah. And maybe those aren't great examples, but like some like Ancient and Future as well. That's probably more comparable. I don't exactly know, but I do want to talk
Yeah.
about. I kind of want to talk about the color identity thing. Do you want to talk about that, or should we like? Or is that not
We
that
can. I
important?
mean, well, go ahead. I'm not sure what you mean by it.
So, well, there was a video you sent me. This is a video. I don't remember who it was by. By Cutlass Board Games. It is. I'll probably have it linked down below. There's some like kind of interesting stuff there, talking about like essentially a commander version of Pokemon. There
Right.
are ultimately, obviously, there are different games, and I think it was trying to. There was some things that I don't know. It was trying to be pretty one to one, but in terms of commanders, they said that cards only have one type, right? Um,
Yeah, the
Like,
vast majority. Yeah.
um,
Dragon's the big exception. We have the Terra Pokemon now
yeah,
too, and
in the video they
Stellar.
said there
But
weren't like that. Yeah, there's the Stellars, there's Dragon, and so it's type identity with not just actual type, right? So you have a card like it means that it has that like symbol in the card, right?
right, like so right for Commander, it's any of that type anywhere on the card. It can be in like other effects or something. Like say like Monkey Dory, it attacks with Psychic, but if you have Darkness attached, it does something. So then that would count towards Psychic and Darkness.
Yeah, so I think there are like there's certainly a good chunk of like Pokemon kind of like that. There was like the new Black Serum EX. I don't know. It refers to dragon types. I don't really know how we're counting dragons. But you could have like Black Serum EX and now be playing dragon types and water types. So that's kind of weird. Oh, and then they also have weakness on them too, right? Every card has weakness and might have, or not every card,
Correct.
but most cards have weakness.
Well,
Some have
yeah.
resistance. Um, so then that is like a few types, and like most cards have a few types on them. Like, um,
Right. I mean, with Cutlass board games, you had to choose two Pokemon with the same name that were of different types. That was kind of how he did it. It's a bit, I would think maybe you'd say you have to take a Pokemon, a basic Pokemon, and whatever types of energy it has. That's the energy for your deck. Which, in case you could choose a basic Pokemon, if we want to make it playable.
yeah, well, it's
Um,
kind of weird, like, because the basics aren't necessarily the most interesting ones. Like, obviously, if it's a pre-evolution, it's not interesting.
right.
I feel like it would make sense. Like, I don't like Command is supposed to be like the main thing you're focusing around. I feel like it should be something that like Serial GX, maybe because I don't know, GLC like doesn't have EX and stuff like that, but well, let's just say Serial GX and you have these three types, or I guess four types with weakness that are
Right.
on the card, and then like you'd want Serial, you wouldn't want like Charcadet. So um I feel like it's kind of weird to restrict it to basics. I mean, how would the command, if we're making just a version of Commander in Pokemon, how would like the command
Right.
zone work?
Yeah, that's good. I mean, one of the things that your point about the evolutions is one of the things that makes Pokemon unique is the Pokemon evolve, right? The creatures don't evolve in Magic. So, what would that mean? That's a good question, right? Because that is a big part of
Oh yeah,
Pokemon.
I was like asking you. Did you answer it?
No, I get it. So but no, I am, but I just want to say, but that's unique to Pokemon. I don't think
Yeah.
any other TCG has evolution. I could be wrong.
Yeah,
There's always
I
different
don't know what
things, but
Digimon has. I don't know
so
about that
evolution.
many TCGs actually, but
So so you could just say you have to have it in your deck and you just shuffle in the deck and don't worry about it, right?
mhm.
You don't have to start it. But if we want to keep it to Commander, so you could make it a basic Pokemon and you have to start it, right? That's one thing
Yeah.
you could do. Um, then it really shifts around what you want to do because it's your starting Pokemon for the game. So that probably limits your choices a lot. It could go in quote like this commander zone, and then it sits there, and essentially it's like in your hand all the time. You can play it whenever you want, I guess, because part of it is also in Magic. The way the quote, we'll just say energy for this. The energy to play with cards in Magic is you pay the energy cost to put the creature into play. It's not to use the attack. Once it's in play, the attack you don't have to pay anything for at that point. It's to get it in play. Whereas a Pokemon, you put it in play for free, but you attack with the energy. So would it be wrong just to say you can put it in play whenever you want from the command zone? That's my thought is we put it the command zone and it's like in your hand and you can play it when you want.
Yeah, without any, was it commander tax or whatever?
Right. But then the fact is if we want to be like Commander after it's been knocked out and you could replay it, it would go, if it goes back to the command zone, there should be some additional cost at that. Maybe you have to discard some cards to put it into
Yeah,
play or
that's what I was
something.
thinking. For each time you discard maybe two cards. I don't know, that's kind of weird because I
Hmm.
assume paying more mana is always bad. Discarding cards could be good, but like discarding
Right.
two cards from your hand usually isn't great. Discarding four is discarding two could be good in a few situations, but especially if you're building around it, but it's certainly not great. Then discarding
Uh,
four is definitely not good and something you
right.
won't always be able to do.
Yeah. So okay. So I have an idea with that. Probably you have the attack cost goes up by two each time. right? Because that's where the energy comes in. Like it's comparable to the mana getting in play. So let's
But not
increase
all
the attack
Pokemon like
cost.
attack. Like so, and then also that's a big deal. Like I think it should just be one at that point. I think because
Oh,
Magic.
okay.
But I think like I don't know. I feel like discarding cards would be more like better. Like some cards increasing the attack cost doesn't really do much of anything, and then some increasing it like drastically reworks it. I guess in Commander like that's kind of true. Well, I don't really know, but in Pokemon like something like Chimpaui X increasing the attack cost of that does not much. Versus like Ceruledge EX, you can't ever use it again if it gets knocked out, essentially, right? If you're playing it like somewhat normally.
Right. So, problem with the discarding cards is it's good for too many decks, right? So people would take advantage of it.
I guess. I don't think it's
Oh,
that like bad. I don't know what else. Maybe it could be um I'm
well,
trying to think. Yeah.
there's also what's the victory condition, right? And let's not. I don't want to sort that out now, but let's say either prize cards or points. Perhaps you now hurt your victory condition, right?
Yeah.
You have to add a prize card if it's prize cards, or you lose
Mhm.
some points if that's the case.
Yeah, and I think the commander will just say should go to your hand, not be like so then it could be an evolution. Um I guess it's kind of weird because then the basic would go into the discard, and then the evolution would go back to the command zone. But um, I don't think it's like that bad. Like, what happens if you like scoop it up?
Well, so
It's in your
maybe
hand. We'll say it's still in hand, and then it just if it dies, it goes to the command zone. I guess that could
all right.
mean that
So
your commander's now floating around in your deck. If you like scoop up that, then like Iono or something.
all right. So a couple thoughts now, because obviously this evolution things cause a lot of problems. What that we could still make it only basic Pokemon. That would sort it out. You could say that the your commander doesn't need to evolve; it goes into play directly. That's probably too broken.
Yeah, I
So,
mean, I
but
think
I'm
that's also like kind of defeats the spirit of a lot of cards and gets a little complicated as well. But um,
Yeah. The other
yeah.
thing, which might be the better thing, if you have a stage one, then the command zone gets the basic and the stage one, or the basic stage one, stage two.
But
But
then what happens when you like get it? Oh, and then you get all the cards into your hand, or it goes just
I'd
straight into
still
play.
probably put them back in the command zone again if they're knocked out. You mean
No,
you put
if they're in the command zone and then you get it out of the command zone, and you if you have let's say I'll stick with a Serial Edge EX and Charcadet, would they both go into play or would they go into your hand?
I would probably put you could put then the basic into play, the Charcadet one turn, and then the Ceruledge the next turn.
Okay, I guess. I think that gets a little complicated, especially if it's a stage two. Like,
Well, it's just that's I'm trying. I think that's just I'm trying to say keep the normal rules for evolution, right?
yeah, but I think you should just put it in your hand as opposed to right in play, especially like I don't know, like because I don't I think there are commanders that you just mostly use them for their effects. I think that's probably common.
Yeah.
In Pokemon, you'd want to use for their effects, but like a lot of effects are on play, like abilities are on
Um,
play, and then all of a
that's
sudden,
true.
um,
Yeah, if you had Luminion V, right, it's a
yeah,
non-play ability. We could still, even though it's not from your hand, we could consider it playing on play from your hand, right?
you could,
Um,
but
because even if your concern is you'd start the Pokemon in the command zone, right? It's if it gets knocked out, what happens to it? Is that your question?
yeah, I mean, there's a lot of weird things like in Commander. Can your Commander be anywhere that's not? Yeah, it says it's either in play or in the command zone. So,
Yes,
um,
correct. I
so
believe
if you
that's
like, I feel like you shouldn't. I feel like you should be able to return the card to your hand and not be like like with Magic, if a card's returned to your hand, you need to pay the cost again. But with Pokemon, you don't need to do that. I mean, I guess you need to reattach the energies, but it's not. I don't know. I feel like there are definitely times when you want to return a card to your hand and play it down again, and that could be a serious part of your strategy. I don't know. Maybe that doesn't matter that much, but
okay.
yeah,
Look, I'm not sure that the commander actually work. I commander format for Pokemon maybe doesn't have a commander. I'm not sure, right? Maybe it
yeah,
just gets too awkward. But I do think you need some restriction, some energy, some type. I think some energy restriction, and probably having a Pokemon. Maybe you have a commander and it's in your deck, and you just have to show your opponent what it is for the start of the game, and you shuffle it in, and it's just regular deck rules.
Yeah,
in
you
that.
could do that. Oh, one thing about this, because obviously then you want to like you'll search it out at some point. Um, within Magic, you're not like searching as much. I don't know if the turns
Right.
are shorter, but I think they are. So I think like you want to have a fun game where turns aren't like super long. In
Yeah.
Pokemon, I don't know about like high level Commander, but people, well, Commander has, this is something I've heard. I don't know if you said this or you told me this or I just saw it somewhere else, but the Commander's like a broken format. Um,
Yeah, yeah, that's I've heard seen that said. I don't think I said it. You
yeah,
probably said it elsewhere. It's
yeah,
a broken format, and players choose to ignore that it's broken to have fun. Is how I've heard it described.
yeah. And so you'd
Uh,
probably need to do the same thing for something like this. I think you could pretty much make it like go like old cards and like go all the way back because it feels kind of like if you're someone who played a long time ago and then you're just hopping back in, you want to be able to play even if you can't necessarily don't have all the best cards. You want to be able to play
right.
something. Like right now, if you played 10 years ago and you want to play now, you can't. You just don't have any of the cards. Theoretically, you might have some trainers and of course you have the energies and that's it.
Okay. Let me. I want to pause this part. I want to talk about U-150 in the team format briefly because
Yeah.
I think we should talk about it. And these address some of these problems that we're talking about, but they also bring up some of these problems. Is that okay? So
Yeah, let's talk about U-150 first. I don't know much about it. I know it's supposed to be like Commander. You have 100 cards, right?
right. It's called the Commander format. This is what I know, and I've never played it. I was looking it up and reading about it some, and looking at a video, and it gets very complicated. It does play all the Pokemon cards back to base set, which that gets really complicated. That it's a singleton format. It's 100 cards. It's called 150 U-150 because the highest HP for a basic Pokemon is 150 HP, I believe. Um, so that's that part of it,
Wait, is it
and
not
maybe
a state? Okay. And then what's it for a stage two?
I don't think that one's restricted. There's
Okay.
another one called what 345 or 456.
I think
I
it's three,
guess
four, five.
in the basics can't be more than 130. The stage one's more than 140, and the stage two is more than 150. I
Oh,
think is where
maybe
the
I'm
three
getting
four five comes.
confused then. That could be. I'm
It's
not sure.
it's three numbers, and I think that's how it relates to it. But that's a different format. What happens is now they addressed the prize card situation. It's still it's a one versus one
Yeah. I feel like you
player
don't need to
game,
address it if it's 1v1. But
but
whatever.
they did. So you draw 15 cards because part of it is the mulligan system in Commander has been different at times than the regular game because obviously you get more inconsistency. I think
Yeah.
you get one extra mulligan these days for free. But so in U-150, you draw 15 cards. You set aside 8 of those cards as your prize cards. So you get 8 prize cards this game, and your hand is the other 7, and you get one mulligan if you want in one U-150, as I understand it.
Okay.
So you have more prize cards,
Wait, what if you don't have
and
a basic?
um, I guess then it's the regular mulligan rules, I think, for that.
Okay, I guess.
But I think if you don't like your hand, you get a mulligan as well. You can
Yeah.
mulligan once just because you want to get a different set of cards.
Yeah.
You can attack going second, turn one like you can now, but it does 0 damage. I think that effects of attacks may happen or like draw a card.
Yeah,
I'm
it's like
not
I'm gonna use the
exactly sure.
effect of my attack of what's it? I felt so amazing rare, and you just disappear, get knocked out.
Well, I think maybe some of those things can happen. So, and then this is where it gets really awkward with some. This is where I got really confused about it, and at some point I didn't try to sort it out. But because it's all cards, and obviously supporters and traders changed, right? So all anything that says trainer is refers to items only. So a card that says like a current card, like Arvin that says search your deck for
No,
a trainer,
no, it says
only
search your
looks
deck for
for
an item,
so
like
that still looks for an
Skyla.
item. Skyla, which searches for a trainer, only searches for an item. So that's kind of weird. I think Poke Powers, Poke Bodies, and abilities are all the same, except that there's certain exceptions for like passive versus active things. I got really weird. Items like owners Pokemon or not owners cards. The owner part is ignored in the card name. So if you're a
Hmm.
big fan of that, that may be an issue. Then it obviously has special bans and special rules
Yeah,
to it.
there's also
So
like there's like different ban lists, right? And you can have like certain cards or something like that. I don't remember. I think there's like different ban lists,
yeah, I
or like
don't know if there's an
restriction lists.
yeah, I don't. There's probably not an official body, right? Like for you mentioned GLC, right? So there's Andrew Mahone's kind of in charge of that. So he's got the ban list. For Commander, there was an official body of just people that were got put together that they were in charge of the rules and the ban list. Now I think the Wizards of the Coast took that over. So for good or for bad. So, but for U150, I don't. There's no official
Sure.
source.
Isn't there like
I
someone who made? I think there. I don't know. I've never actually
for
heard of anyone playing U150. I've heard people mention it from time to time,
okay.
but I've never heard of anyone actually playing it because it's. I've only heard it's complicated. I'm not playing it, and that's it.
Right.
So
Well, and part of the difficulty, which is also if we want to bring it to Pokemon of any commander format, is you want to make the rules not too complicated
yeah.
because you don't want to be like, oh, that seems too hard. Because to put together a 100 card deck, a singleton deck, that's a lot of effort, and you don't want it to be too complicated. One of the things with Commander that fits into the bans and stuff is for play groups, especially for friend groups, they have their own rules, and you're encouraged to kind of to find the rules that make your play group happy. There's also like power levels for decks that are allowed and not allowed, and certain, you could have a friend group that says no control allowed and stuff like that.
Hmm.
Because you choose whatever you want and you can ban as at will within a group as long as you agree on it collectively.
Yeah.
So
So, but
go ahead.
ultimately, you can't just edit the formats whatever you want and then move on. Um,
No,
as
no,
this is what we'll say. We figured out Commander. It's whatever you want to play.
no. I mean, but for whatever this is, it could be a base set of rules, and then people customize it, right? But you
Hmm.
still need to have the base set of rules needs to be as worked out as possible, I would
Yeah, it
say.
needs to be an actual playable thing. It needs to be a
Yes.
complete rule set. Um, and you said you want
So
to talk about the team
yeah,
format?
but so the
Uh,
downside to U150, it just seems a little complicated. A big part of that is going all the way back to base set. So I'm thinking we at least to start out, we should just go like expanded format black and white on
yeah, that's
because
a lot of cards.
it is. And if people if we want it wants to go back more later on, figure it out. But let's figure it out just with black and white on. So that's one thing. That's probably the biggest thing. The other thing is it's still a one versus one game. We want to have, I think, the tabletop experience of like four friends playing all at the same time.
Yeah. And all against each other. It could be collaborative, which we'll talk about, but probably not.
Right. Well, the other one is the team format, which is
Yeah.
collaborative. I'm looking at it within the Pokemon's official alternative play handbook. So, I mean, it's official that Pokemon's produced it. There's not like competitive tournaments in this, as far as I know, although obviously people can do whatever they wish. So it's a team format. So it's four players. It's two teams of two. So it's two players versus two players. Whereas in Commander, it's four people each playing for themselves. So that's one difference there. I don't fully understand how this works. I looked at the rules a little bit here, and I looked at a video, and I've never played it, and I didn't fully understand it. But as I understand it, you have each team sits opposite each other's table. You have your board set up, your partner has their board set up, and then there's what they call here the center lane, and that's another game board that can have prize cards and Pokemon and everything in play. And you can choose to play either on your board or the center lane. And I think you and your partner play at the same time. And
Yeah,
most
I
of the
don't think the prize cards are part of the center lane. I mean, they're in there. I don't think they're shared prizes though. I think they're just
no, they're
there.
right. You put three of your prizes on your side, three in on your side of the center lane. I think if you take a knockout from the center lane, then you take one of your prizes that are in the center lane. You can't ever take your teammates, but I think that you have to take knockouts both from your
Okay.
Pokemon, your board, and the center board to get all six prizes, I think.
Okay. Well, you don't need all. You just take 9 prizes in total. So you
Is
do
that
need
what it
some from the
is?
center, I believe. Yeah. It's like super confusing. I was like reading
Okay.
through this, and then they like make clarifications, but the clarifications don't like clarify anything. Like there's some weird stuff about like prize cards, and then I don't know, it's kind of weird. And then it's like 3 games though at once, and then which doesn't make like why is it 3 games? Why isn't it just 2 games or 1 game? But regardless, and then
Right.
you can like you can use like the in the middle lane you can use like your teammates' abilities and and oh, then there's a ban list, but none of the cards in ban that are banned are in standard, so that's something. This is a little bit outdated.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, maybe it's back. Yeah, what Metacham V is like one of
That's the
the,
newest card.
the
The rest
newest
are
in it.
all Sun and Moon.
Yeah,
This
and
was
that
an
probably was the
Ultra
time
Boost.
the game was made. Yeah, so for instance, like the Pokemon with abilities, if your opponent played a Greninja in the middle, in the center lane, either player can use that Greninja on their turn. But since you are both taking your turns together, only one of you could use that Greninja, Radiant Greninja.
Yeah. Uh,
So, it is what it is. I look, you brought it up to me. So if you want to share more about it, go ahead. I haven't really heard of it. I haven't really heard about people talking about it, I will say.
yeah,
So
no,
I
all
don't.
these formats in the this handbook, there's GLC, there's
Right.
something called Menu of Limitations, which is like GLC. It's actually like it's just like formats. It's not really a format. It's just like do what you want kind of. There's what are these things? What am I looking at? There's the
You
raid format. There's Ditto draft. I don't remember what that is. Um, it's not exactly. We're gonna talk about draft some. And there's a bunch of
yeah.
things. But honestly, like it's just a weird experience, just like reading through this. Um,
Well, yeah,
it's quite
look, a lot
strange.
of it. Yeah, I mean, I think the focus is these beginner and intermediate formats where, the team format in GLC's quote advanced format. It's a lot of it's for like younger kids. And I think it's ideas like for parents to help their kids learn Pokemon in simple ways when they're younger. I think that's a big focus of what this book is. There's the raid format where that's a collaborative thing as well. You're all attacking one big, powerful Pokemon together, and I guess you win or lose together. I think I'm not really so up on that either.
Yeah, and that's the only cooperative format. I don't know why there's a difference between like the I don't know. Anyways, so that is a thing. So there is an official 4-player Pokemon format, but
Right,
it's not good. So yeah, ideally we'd have
right.
something better than that.
It doesn't get talked about. The other thing let's talk about briefly, and that's cubing, because I think that's the
Yeah. Oh, and by
closest
the way, if
thing.
anyone doesn't know much about cube drafts, in Magic they're like different, I guess. But in Pokemon, like cube and draft's the same thing, right? Essentially, it's like you draft from a cube, but like they're
Right. Yeah, the drafts one with cube. Well, for cube, let me just say it quickly, and you can correct me. One person has a cube, which is a collection of like hundreds of Pokemon, and then there's some process that they've selected because it kind of works together. And then is a group of whatever 4, 8 players. It takes time, an hour or two, whatever. Everyone drafts cards, and then you build decks from it, and then you play one-on-one games with those decks. Right? That's kind of the basics of cubing.
yeah. So the collaborative element is the drafting, and there is playing, but it's like as collaborative as playing in a Pokemon tournament, which does have, or as like a group eventy as like a Pokemon, really any type of Pokemon event, a pre-release, something like that. Except it is probably with your friends, but it isn't something where you're playing together. You're just the drafting is together, but you're not really like talking. Like you're talking some, but you're all doing your own thing. Like you don't really want to give much information away, like at all. You might make
Right.
like a few references, like oh this pack's like really good or really bad or something, but that's it. Like you can't really talk. You can't talk with people about what's happening really at all. That's not something that would really happen much.
Right. The draft part's the part where everyone's at a table together, but you don't want people to know what cards you're going after, right? Because you don't want people to build up defenses like I'm going after a fire deck. You don't want people to do that because first you don't want them taking your fire Pokemon, and you don't want the person of someone else going, oh, I'm going to put together a water deck now because of this. So you're trying to be quiet about what you want, and you can talk about non-Pokemon things, but you're not really talking about the draft
Yeah,
as it's
and you're
going on
not
in
talking about
progress.
non-Pokemon stuff or not. stuff related to it. Like you're just not talking that much because you are all focused on one thing, and it's not like there's not that much time between. There's not much time where people aren't thinking about stuff. There is time, but it's like staggered by people generally by a little bit. So it is
Y-
kind of it's kind of weird. It's fun, and it is something that I would recommend. It's also very long. The whole experience is like it's like a whole it's a whole like it's a whole thing. It's probably like uh 4 to 6 hours maybe.
Yeah, I mean the commander it says here for Magic is at 120 minutes. It's going to be a lot longer than that probably for a cube. So that's one difference, which could be okay, but you need a more extensive set of time for the cube. And also part of the commander experiences besides the tabletop community, which is what we're really trying to get to Pokemon, but also each player still brings their own deck. So you get your own deck building and your deck expression that you get to bring with you to the event, right? Which with cubing you don't get to do that. Only the person that builds the cube in a certain sense gets to express their thoughts between how they built the cube.
Yeah, I mean you build your deck and you choose what you want, and there can be times when I mean, like you choose what you want, kind of. You would kind
Yeah,
of get what you get, but and sometimes like people will build a cube together, I guess. I don't know. I think I don't know if I've really heard of that happening, but I haven't done much cubing stuff. I've just done a few things. There are actually lots of different forms of drafting and cubes. I don't know the exact terms, but there's like a pack draft, and then there's other things. You can do like a two-person one. Oh, generally it's like 8 people. It doesn't have to be 8 people. It can be however many, but well, I don't know if however many, but 8 people is what you're looking for. I think six probably
yeah.
works fine, um, as well. It depends exactly what you want to do, but
Right. And right. So it's longer and it just it's less interactive. You're not all playing together. That's we're trying to get everyone together at one table for the entire time you're doing the game, right?
yeah.
That's part of it. So I think cubing comes up short in that. I think it's probably the closest thing to Commander, even though it's very different.
Yeah, because it's something people, and it's not like that popular either. I don't know exactly how popular it is. It's probably within the top 5 most popular formats. I mean, it's not exactly a format.
Yeah.
I mean, it is. It's like very different.
It's
Um, is
yeah.
it? I
I
don't
mean
know. I
it's
just threw that out there. That's such a bizarre thing. Like, I don't know what exactly counts. But it's something that
right.
people kind of know and kind of do.
Right. I mean, the popularity of cubing, Omnipoke hasn't made. I don't think they made a video in a while on it. So that was always one of the big sources for it. So
I guess
I
they
don't know
never
if
did
that's
like I mean ultimately cubing isn't that popular. The cubing
yeah.
videos never really got that many views. Um
No.
and they are long and slow. And they don't have to. If you're doing a cube, that's like long. I don't have I done a cube video? Like have I played I don't remember. It's kind of complicated to draft like online. So but these are generally things intended for in person. The
Yes.
Pokemon TCG works pretty well online. I mean, live itself has flaws, but in terms of just playing the game online, it is a game that works pretty well. Um, there's less, just in general, there's less interaction between players. Um, on like on your turn, you're not really interacting with people with your opponent, just
Right.
normally, but versus Magic, you're doing it more. I don't know exactly how much, but I
Yes.
know there's a lot more. But then
Right. I mean, in Magic, you have the phases to each player's turn, and the other players can play cards during your turn during certain parts. So there's a lot more interaction. You don't like see the part of it is like if you had like a four-person Pokemon game, now you're going to sit there for like 10 minutes and you like take a nap right between
yeah.
before you get your turn again, and that's going to be a problem
I
too.
think you can. So one issue, if you're playing like in person, you're with like a friend or whatever, you want to talk to them, right?
Right.
But then, because it's like a hangout thing, but then
Yeah.
they're thinking. So when if you're thinking and like during your turn, it's harder to talk, right? But then if
Right.
you're like when it's not your turn, you can talk. But in a two-player game, someone's always playing, so you just can't talk. But with 4 people, 3 people can be talking, and it's
Yeah.
like one person drops out of the conversation and one person joins in. It's not like the conversation's completely like changing all the time either. So I think it like 4 people you do need for that as well. if it's three people,
Yeah.
half the people in the conversation are changing every turn change, which kind of
Right. The
like
two
just
right
destroys the whole thing.
right with four people, two of the three people stay the same. With if you had three people, one person stays, but the person they were talking to changes, so the conversation has to reset itself every turn, which probably isn't good.
Yeah.
Um, Briefly, just in terms of looking Commander, one of the things that was interesting when I looked at the page on Commander here, there's three ways to play it: tabletop, IRL, which is the big one. There's MTGO, that's the original Magic the Gathering client online, and that actually let you play Commander, and they still maintain it, so you can play Commander there.
Do you need to
That
like get cards, or is it
you
like
have to
you?
get cards, you
Okay.
have to put money in. They actually redid the system recently to make it a little more accessible, which was
So it's
interesting.
not really like a free thing.
No, no,
I
it's
mean, I
not.
guess like with physical Pokemon, that's not like a free thing either. And
Right.
so if you are looking at a format like this, it's not going to be free, but it's not like supposed to be that expensive either. It's not like, oh, I'm going to go out and get all the cards I want. And it's like, oh, I might not be playing. What's a good card? That's like I'm not necessarily playing Versus Seeker. Versus Seeker would objectively make my deck better, but I don't have it, and it is what it is. And so that's probably what you'd go by with that
Yeah, I
mentality
mean,
where you're not like optimizing it. Like with Commander, there's the power levels, which kind of like are, I think,
right.
kind of bad from what I've heard
Well,
because they
we
don't
should
like
talk about that a little bit.
yeah.
But MTGO's got its own economy. You can actually like rent decks, like for you'd pay like $5 a month or something, and be able to rent and you could trade in and get different decks. So it's its own weird thing there. But then they have Spelltable, which I didn't know about, and that's actually a webcam app Magic designed to play games either with friends, or you just log in and join a game in a game of random people, which is interesting. I guess that the app works well, but due to the just nature of people being toxic, it's often bad because there are power levels to things, kind of on a, I believe, 1 to 10 in groups generally say like we're gonna play not better than a level 6 deck. But then people obviously argue about what a level 6 deck is. But if you go online, you say, I'm going into the level 6 room. Oh, by the way, I don't know anybody here, so I just drop down like what would clearly be like a level 8 deck.
Hmm.
So that's one problem. And then people also just start screaming and swearing at people randomly too,
Yeah,
because that's what
that
people
would never
are.
happen.
But Pokemon wouldn't do that, right?
Yeah,
And then the other thing is, I think like really busted turn ones just seem to happen a lot more often in Spell Table for some reason.
because the decks are better.
People,
Like I
well,
was
no,
saying,
I
like
think because people are manipulating their
oh, they're
decks,
just
right?
like
Because
cheating.
you have a webcam there, but they're kind of either
And
stacking their
at the end
deck
of the
or
day, I
whatever.
feel like that's not really Commander. Like you're supposed to just be like chilling and having a good time. And if you're
Yeah,
cheating, like you wouldn't like cheat against your friends
no,
unless it's like it's not like I don't know. I suppose if you're like changing the rules, like if you're like, oh, I want to play Pokemon and but we play two supporters every turn, that's not like I mean that is like kind of like breaking the rules, but that's just like the rules you decide on. So if you want to change rules with your friends, you could do that, but obviously you shouldn't. I can't go to a Pokemon tournament and just start playing extra supporters. Um,
right. And I also think also with Magic, with Commander, like in stores, I think they have Commander events, and I think you're supposed to you sit down with people you might not know, and you talk before the game starts about what type of decks you can and can't play. You're supposed to share some information about your deck too, so everyone kind of knows. It's a kind of a community contract starting the game, so hopefully everyone's honest about it
yeah,
and
I think
trying to.
like if you're with physical like Commander's meant to be played in person,
Yes.
and I guess it like kind of sort of works online, but like I don't know. It's not really this. It's not meant for that. And we don't need something like that for Pokemon because we have that. That's just
No.
Pokemon like it is now. It's the standard Pokemon TCG. It's live expanded. It's Pocket. It's all those things and those work. They like are fine for that.
Okay, so yeah, so it's going to be IRL based. That's fine. Card access, we don't care if you play proxies, so we're fine. We're not going to worry about that. We're going to say black and white on.
Yeah.
100 cards, singleton. That's not a problem, right? Format wise, that's
I don't
easy.
know. I feel like I'm trying to think. Like 100 cards is a lot. So Pokemon is aimed at a younger audience as well. And in terms of
Mhm.
physical shuffling, obviously younger people have smaller hands. Like I feel like 60 cards is shuffleable. I feel like 100
Mm.
cards also I don't know. I don't know how consistent Magic decks are. Pokemon decks, like you search out what you want and stuff like that.
Right.
So,
Okay, so you raised a good point there because
which
I'm
the
trying to
hands or
think about.
the
Well, because
searching?
I'm trying to obviously just try to sell what things we know, what we can switch. Yeah, about the shuffling, because in Magic, for the most part, you're just drawing, or if you have a card that says draw an extra card, you're really excited. You're not searching your deck for a card in Magic much like you are in Pokemon, which means in Pokemon you're having to shuffle your deck a lot. So maybe 100 cards isn't good. First off, if somebody's searching their 100 card deck every turn and multiple times every turn, the searching is going to take longer and the shuffling is going to take longer. So maybe we need to keep it to 60 cards then for
Yeah, I
this.
mean,
Is that
honestly, just searching cards like create issues. I was almost considering like what if you just didn't have searching cards? But like so many cards are searching cards, right? Just like
wow?
random cards.
So you just ban every card that searches,
Yeah. I don't know. That's like a big problem because that's like, well, I mean, it's obviously
right?
all
That's
Pokemon search. Um, that's all. It's just like just a lot of cards, like lots of random cards too. So that like wouldn't work. But the shuffling
yeah,
thing, like shuffling 5 times a turn, is I don't want to wait 15 shuffles between turns. That seems
yeah.
not fun.
No, I agree. So okay, so maybe it's not 100 cards. Maybe you add a rule about besides the one supporter per turn. Maybe you can only search your deck maybe once or twice. Maybe a search your deck limitation per turn.
Maybe that seems a little. Yeah, that could be good. That's like obviously very. I was gonna say like that's weird because that's like nothing like what we have now, but that could be very good. I'm not sure. Like obviously, if you are playing, we said we are playing like in person. Like if it's online, it doesn't matter. But
Okay. Okay, so 100 cards is a question. The deck search, well, I mean, we go into 60 cards, something's not a big deal, I don't think. Getting rid of deck search is a big deal. The two other questions is the whole commander question. Do we have a commander and how does it work? And then also the win condition, right? Is it still prize cards? Because like I said, with prize cards, you beat up the weak players first if you have the choice, because you just want to grab prizes fast, and then which kind of goes against the fun of the weaker players get to sit around. They're kind of like, it might not feel good still if you're just going to lose the game anyway. It's not fun, but
But
at
now
least
you
you're
have a
playing
ch
the game.
yeah, and now you have more of a chance to win. Like if I go in to like if you're playing just on like the rank ladder with like
Yeah,
a theme deck, obviously there aren't theme decks, but if you were like you just lose. Like you have no chance. But if you were a theme deck, everyone else was playing serious decks, and all of a sudden, like you'd have somewhat of a chance. Well, I don't know. If it's health, you'd have a chance. But and I do think it should be health. Um, yeah.
what? No, so what do you mean by that?
Um,
By health?
It shouldn't like
For
as
what, the
opposed
win
to
condition?
yeah, well like Magic there isn't really a win condition, there's just lose conditions.
Yes.
So and then you can force like you just have health as opposed to prize cards. So I think I'd just make it I think it should just be you have like 6 Pokemon that can get knocked out or your 6 prizes that you can take. I feel like Brianna's prize is kind of weird because prize is supposed to be a good thing, and if you're getting knocked out, that's bad. But yeah, I feel like I'd make it you are the one who takes prize instead of your opponent. And also then that's like a comeback mechanic style thing as
It
well.
helps. Right. So when your Pokemon's knocked out, you draw a prize card for it, which helps you a little bit.
Yeah, I guess that can make
And
something
that
like Dusknoir like kind of silly, but whatever. I mean, at the end of the day, you are still knocking yourself out. And a card like Dusknoir would be worse in a four-player format because um because you're not impacting all your opponents, you're just impacting one of them. So
right. And I guess look, if we could if cards like Dusknoir needed to get banned, we could. I mean, obviously it expanded. Cards like Dusknoir get banned all the time. We don't want to have to have more bans than necessary. But you think win condition, it's prize cards, but it's reversed.
yeah, yeah, you have like 6 lives or whatever.
Okay, well, yeah, right. Because one of the things Pokemon is very family friendly, so
Yeah,
they don't want
well, it's
right.
like
Pokemon get knocked out, they don't get killed,
I know. I was like, what's
and
that? You have 6 what in pocket you have 6 never mind. So I don't know. Um
right. But
it's just
so
6 like thing. What's it? Pokemon. I was gonna say 6 Pokemon, but it's not 6 Pokemon
mhm,
because if you have EX, it's not 6 Pokemon, right? So
right.
um
So do we want to still do? So you think prize cards? I mean, in Pocket they introduced points, and you could always do points with some markers for that, or we could still keep prize cards. I think I'd like to keep prize cards. What do you think?
Uh, yeah. What do you mean? Like the name prize cards or the
And we
taking
actually you
prizes?
set aside prize
Yeah, I think
cards.
setting aside card. So one of the things is that I don't know if I said this to you. I think I did. There's that like Magic uses, or no, not Magic. I think Pokemon uses prize cards because that's not like an extra counter that you'll need. But then obviously they have damage counters. So like there are
Yeah.
counters that you need. But yeah, I think prize cards are cool. I'd probably rename it though, as I said, because like thematically it's kind of weird.
Oh, okay.
Um, because it's not a prize.
'Cause okay, yeah,
But that doesn't
yeah.
really
We'll have to
matter.
name it right
Yeah,
now.
I don't know if this is
Yeah, we'll
ever
go.
gonna like, because
So,
obviously, if we
so
want to play this, we need to play this online. I mean, we could play it in person maybe at some point, but then
right,
we
you got to
can't show
find
other
some other
people
people
either.
to do it.
Yeah.
Right, and you can't do a tabletop simulator either. I don't think. Right,
Yeah, I've been
it would
looking
mostly be
around. I
two
just looked
players.
around a little bit. Yeah, all the simulators I saw were just two players. I sometimes I've kind of joked around that simulators are just glorified versions of like PowerPoint or Google Slides, so we could just straight up play in Google Slides. That seems
Y-
horrible, but
Yeah, I
technically
mean
would work.
you could try something with webcams too, right? But
Yeah, I don't have a webcam.
we'll
So.
see. Maybe we could use this spell table thing for
But Spell Table doesn't give you a webcam.
no, but you use your camera. I think you can use your laptop camera somehow.
How
I'm
would
not
you
sure
do?
how
But
it
that
works.
left, like if I turned it on, it would be looking like
I
towards
don't
me or away
know.
from me.
I don't know I don't know the details. So anyway,
Okay.
all right. So just if let's say we get together, we can find people to do it. So we prize cards, reverse prize cards, whatever we call them. I think then the black and white on, and then maybe 60 cards. I'm not sure. But then what about the commander
Yeah, I don't
situation?
hate 100 cards. I think that's kind of cool, and I think Singleton's good. I'm trying to think. I think
Hmm.
you should just say you only search twice a turn.
Well,
Do you
here's the
agree
other.
that the searching is an issue, or do you like?
I
I don't
I
know
will
exactly
I
how big of an issue it is, but
here's what
it's
I would say. I would say start without a restriction on searching
yeah,
and then see how it goes. If I put an implementation in, what I would like to say is you're only allowed to search your deck once, but you can search as many thing cards as you want it can at once, right? So like you could so like because that's also helps speed up the game. Like it's the multiple searching,
yeah,
right?
which
Like if you
happens in
could
like actual if you're physically playing. A lot
right.
of
But so if you play a nest ball and a quick ball and a buddy buddy poffin and you play an Arvin, you could play those. Let's say we'd say okay, you play those all at once, and then you do a deck search for everything at once,
yeah.
and you're done for your turn. So
Mhm.
so then trying to set up to get that is becomes part of the game. I don't know if that would work, but
I
that's a
guess. I
thought.
think yeah, maybe you shouldn't. Yeah, maybe there doesn't need to be a restriction. I don't know. I'm trying to think.
I would I
Like
think no limit at first, but my question is, what do we do about the commander question? Do we have commanders, or do we just ditch them?
I think it should be. I don't mind. Yeah, I do. I think having commanders is kind of cool. Obviously, if you're trying to replicate commander, you need a commander, and then I
It's
think
yeah.
it would be. I think it should be any one card. I'll change to what's another card? I'm gonna find a. Can I find a random card? I don't know. I got myself. I want a card with multiple types in it. A Charizard EX. Here we go. So I got the Darkness Charizard EX. So this card has a what's it color? Like it has the type identity. Because Magic doesn't have types. It's just color, right? That's what it is. So
I
it'd be type.
I
Yeah.
I
Anyway, so
believe
you
so.
got the
Yeah.
types of your deck. Charizard EX. It's Darkness, Fire, and Grass. Because you got your Grass weakness, which I think is kind of cool.
Okay, so
Obviously,
you're going to allow that as since that symbol's on the card, it's grass is allowed as well.
yeah. Oh, and then colorless. Wait.
You
So
always have
would we?
colorless.
Okay. So we say you always have colorless.
I
Um,
think so.
What about
And
dragon? How would dragon work? Do you need to reference dragon? You need like a dragon commander?
I think so, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd say dragon because it is a type for the card, even though it's not an energy type. So I think yes. Although that's a
Um,
good question.
well,
That's a good question.
yeah, we'll
But
say
I'd say no dragon unless you grab a dragon
yeah.
commander.
So
And
there's
then
the
if you
10
play
types plus colorless. We need 10 types. That's the one rule that we need.
that's
Um,
well, if we have to, we can always ban fairy type again, right?
yeah,
If
but
we
if we
need
don't,
to.
if dragon isn't a type, then we only have 9 types. If dragon and colorless both aren't like types, then we only have 9, and that's a problem.
Right.
Now,
I mean, we have 9 types of energy, right? That's a
yeah,
given. And then
Basic,
there's how
yeah,
many types of Pokemon there are is the question.
yeah. But and then so you
Um,
have I have Charizard EX, and so I have my Charizard EX, which oh, and then I think in terms of prize cards, we didn't say this. Should it still be six? It could. I don't know. If it's 100 cards, it could be 10. That seems like a bunch. Maybe 8.
well, let's think. So it's 100 cards. I'm assuming I'd say keep it at 6 to start with because I think the turns are going to take longer than with Magic still because it just that does in Pokemon. So therefore, this game might go on way too long with extra prizes.
Okay, yeah. And then you have so if my Charizard EX, so it starts in the command zone. This is the only card. So I have 99 cards plus Charizard EX in the command zone, and hopefully
So
you don't prize your
so,
Charmander. And
yeah,
then
so I was going to say so hang on. So Charmeleon and Charmander aren't in the command zone.
no, they are in your deck. And then at any point in the game, you can go ahead and just take it out. But then when if you take it out and then it gets I'm not exactly sure if it would be in the discard or if it gets knocked out or if it just leaves play. Because Commander said if it leaves play. Some people just say if it leaves play, it goes back to the um, command
Command
zone.
zone, right?
And then
So it wouldn't
next
so it
time
wouldn't go back to your hand then.
no. So if I place Scoop Hook Net on Charizard EX, then it just goes into the command zone. And then next time I
So
take it
well,
out,
hang on. So the Charizard goes in the command zone. The other two cards go in your hand. The
yeah,
one or two, the basic and possibly the stage one.
yeah. And then
Okay.
obviously if you had like other stuff dasher to get discarded and yeah, everything else is
Yeah.
normal. And then next time you take it out, I think you discard 2 cards for each time. That's the tax.
That's the penalty. That's the extra cost
Yeah,
to
which
put it in
after
play.
2 times is almost definitely bad. After 1 time, it's probably bad, but you might be able
Hmm.
to get value. But it's not like that. I don't think it's that problematic if you're getting value out of it. I don't think you're ever going to be like getting insane value out of it.
Okay. So the cost to play, it's free the first time. It
Yeah, well,
goes
to
right
get it.
from it. Yeah. It does. Does it go in your hand or does it go into play?
Into your hand, yeah. So you'd need the like then you'd need to evolve it if you have your Charmander in play.
Okay. Okay. So discard two, but you can also just
Yeah.
put it
Oh,
in
I
your
guess.
hand.
Oh, wait, that's kind of weird. I said if it's not in play or in your, if it's not in play, then it's in the command zone. So maybe it would need to go into play. Maybe you can only get it when you play it, but then it counts as playing it from your hand. I don't know. This is
I
weird.
think if it has an unplayability, like Charizard, I would say that playing it from the command zone is the same thing as playing it from your hand.
Yeah. Okay.
Because otherwise, you could, especially if you had a discard deck, you could discard like 2 cards or 4 cards, get in your hand, and then discard it again from your hand.
Hmm.
I think we don't want that, right? We don't want you to be able to discard it. Or worst case, you could loop it. You could just put it back and it would go back in the command zone, and now you pay discard even more cards, and
Well, I
you
don't know.
just
I feel like that's not that big an issue. Like, if you just want to discard your whole hand, I don't think there's any like thing where like you just always like something even like well, no, I was gonna say UV max, but that doesn't work because you're only having one
okay.
Genesect V. So
Right. My Sarala GX deck though, like turn two, I could get as much energy as I can get in my hands in the discard pile.
um I feel like that's like not that hard. Like or I like getting lots of energy in your hand though is like
That
still
that's the
hard.
problem. Yeah, I guess you're
Um
right.
I don't know. But I think
Okay.
we got rules. And then you
Yeah, I'm
attack
not.
whoever you want. You can, I guess, in Magic you can split attacks. You only attack with one Pokemon. Oh, so there's some other things that we didn't talk about.
Hmm.
So what about a card like Iono?
Oh, that affects everyone. Oh, so Iono, which if we had the regular prize rules, everyone
Yeah,
would just do what Iono says,
yeah.
right?
Oh, no, I was initially asking about prizes, or I guess Judge first. Each player shuffles their hand and draws 4 that affect all 4
It
people, right?
affects everyone. Yeah, I
Yeah.
assume it does. Yes.
And what about something that says like affects just your opponent that would affect all 3 of your opponents?
Yes. Yeah. I don't. Unless there's some problem. Right now, I can't think of any problems with doing that.
Yeah, I can't really think of issues. There were probably some weird edge cases, but whatever.
Yeah. Yeah. But obviously, like Iono or something like that, you get more cards.
Well, huh?
Since the prizes are reversed, right? It's a little weird
Well, you
with
you still
Iota.
go down. So at the beginning of the game, it'll be drawing you a bunch, and at the end of the game, it will be drawing not a lot. However, instead of it being a comeback, it hurts the people who've been getting like attacked, which is like kind of
Right.
bad. I don't think it's super problematic. It's obviously not what it's supposed to do, but I
Right.
don't think it's like the end of the world.
Right. So it's a reverse of the whole comeback situation, which isn't ideal, but I guess it's okay. The question that raised comes to mind is there something that's a card that's designed to do the reverse that that somehow could get exploited in a really harmful way?
Yeah, I'm trying to
I'm not sure.
think about wait, so now your prizes are you oh no, it's your opponent. Oh, so like Charizard EX, going back to that, it
Hmm.
says it refers to your the damage is based on your opponent. So that would be, and this is reversed. Now it's going to be doing more damage to people who have taken more prizes who have been attacked more, which I guess isn't
Right.
intended. And then it would be doing more. It's each prize your singular opponent has taken, right? Or would it be like all your opponents? I mean, I feel like it
No,
shouldn't be all your opponents, but
no, I don't
like
think
I
so,
don't
right?
know,
Because then
like
you're going to be blowing everything out too quickly.
yeah, you just take one knockout, then all of a sudden, boom, 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 you're hitting like 600 damage.
So I mean, it raises the question a little bit, like with Chars and Iono, is this reverse prize card going to be bad, right? I'm
Yeah,
not
it could
certain about
cause
that.
issues. It's definitely doing some unintended things. I think it like is okay. I don't know, it's not great, but ultimately I think we kind of established that we need to change the way that
The
instead of
win
making it
condition,
a yeah, instead of making it a win condition, it's a loss condition.
yeah, I think the way, yeah, like in Commander, it's a loss condition, so you're going to be losing something. Which, and I still think we want something like prize cards. Also, I'm thinking if you play ADP, I'm trying to think that I don't know if that's ability. I guess you just don't want to use that ability,
Oh, yeah. Wait, no, that wouldn't do anything.
or it
Um,
doesn't do anything.
because it says, what's it say? When you take a knockout, you take an extra prize. But in Pokemon, extra means if it's zero, you're not going to take one. And you don't want to take one, but you don't take,
Right.
it's not like all of a sudden you're taking prize after knockouts, which would be bad.
But does
It's
your
not hurting.
opponent then take two prize if you knock out a
No,
single
because we're
prize
going by
Pokemon? Your
just what
opponent.
they say, and that's not what it
Okay,
says on the card. Like, yeah,
so they just take one prize card still if it's a one prize knockout.
yeah.
Okay, that's fine.
And
I
we'll
just
ignore like
want
the tag team rule. Well, it like I guess we'll change that. So if you knock out a tag team, the that person takes three as opposed to your opponent. Um, but yeah, I don't know.
oh the the rule box text that it has on it.
Yeah,
Oh, when your Pokemon EX is knocked out, your opponent takes two prize cards. Rather, you take two prize cards,
yeah,
like it says in this Charizard here.
yeah,
Yeah, yeah. So the prize card thing could get a little weird, or a
yeah,
lot weird. Um, Not positive. But we got a starting place. So 100 cards, singleton. You have a commander. It can be an evolution. We have rules to put it back into play. It's reverse prize cards. You take prize cards. You take the prize card when you're knocked out, and when you run out of prize cards, you are out of the game. So right, it's a lose condition rather than a win condition. So um, okay, I think we nailed it, right?
And then oh wait, no. In terms of energies, is any basic
Yes.
energies? I think.
You can play, or you'll limit it to the energy. Well, you limit the energies on your commander, right?
But what about? But those aren't energy types. They're just like types.
Well, so like Charizard, we're saying you can play Darkness, Fire, Grass, Pokemon,
Pokemon.
a-
Yeah.
and
But
and I think you're restricted to energy as well.
um.
That's what I'm thinking. You
Okay, I
don't think
guess.
that's correct?
I don't know. Like so then that I can't play if I also want to play like Hydreigon EX, I just wouldn't be able to attack. Well, and then also what about special energies, right? Like what about an energy that provides multiple types, like a unit energy or
Okay.
something?
I uh let's think.
Like
Well,
in
what are the
com
rule? What's the rule for GLC? Because that's also
GLC. Well, you can do
single
any
type,
energy, yeah. I
special
think
energy.
Basic energy, any energy. You can play whatever energy.
So okay, so I'm thinking, yeah, so I'm thinking you can play any special energy you want. It's the one of rule still, so you can play Aurora and
No,
whatever,
but
and
what about basic energy? Because
basic
yeah, that's
energy.
what I was saying. Because in GLC you can play. Um,
I think, wow. See, to be
I think
like
it should be
Commander
like,
for,
what's it
I would
say?
I
What's
would
the
keep
rule?
it to, uh, um, wow.
Every
See,
card in your deck must also have the same, I guess, color identity or within the color identity of that.
yeah. So you can't then play with this Charizard. You can't play a basic water energy.
Yeah. Oh, you couldn't play Hydreigon EX either. Oh wait, no, but
Okay.
then this gets weird because the weakness is on the color identity. So then, like, you could barely play, like, you couldn't play any grass Pokemon. Well, you could because they'd be weak to fire, and Charizard EX references fire. But like, if I was playing a normal like a Yanmega, which is weak to fire, I couldn't play any fire Pokemon because they're all weak to water. So I think,
All right. So you could just make the game say you got to play a basic stellar Pokemon for your commander, right? And then those are the types you have. Well, I'm just saying that
no, but
that
what do you
solves
mean
it.
the types of the Pokemon, right? Not the, we'll say that's the type of the Pokemon,
Well, give me. So
not the
if I
color
take a look at
identity of the,
Pikachu, like right, the new Pikachu, right?
yeah,
Uh, which I'm not seeing.
which has color identity of lightning, metal, grass, and I guess fighting,
Yeah, or see, maybe you should ignore the fighting. It's just
maybe.
lightning, metal, grass, right?
But I don't think, like, what if you don't have like a stellar Pokemon or
Well,
not a,
that's too bad, you know.
we don't have, I don't have a stellar Pokemon. Actually, I might,
Well, then
but
make a proxy or make a drawing. I don't care,
but
right?
I don't think
Pikachu
you should
EX is
have.
right
I think
text
you
down.
should be able to like do it with like whatever you. I don't know how hard it is to get find a card that has a commander if like everyone has that after opening like 5 packs or something. Um,
Yeah. Uh, so the command look, so the commanders, honestly, I think we're not sorted. I don't feel like we've settled on the commander
yeah,
situation. Do
I'll
you?
say I'll decide it. You have a Pokemon, and all the types pictured on that Pokemon, are the types of Pokemon that you can have in your deck, and you can use any energies, and any
Any
trainers and
energies?
energy. Yep.
So you said pictured. So does that mean the art counts as
No,
well?
no, on the
Heck, as
te
well as the attack, the weakness, the resistance, anything like that counts.
yeah.
And
Um,
and colorless is always allowed. Is that correct?
yeah.
I mean, GLC colorless is its own type, right?
No,
So you're
I think
restricted.
no, but then most Pokemon have colorless on them. So theoretically, if you're playing Pikachu EX doesn't have colorless on it, does it?
Well, it does for the retreat cost.
Oh yeah, it's one retreat. So yeah, Pikachu
So
EX could use it. But if you're playing like um I
I think
can't
if I'm
think of any
playing
Pokemon that have free retreat and also don't have colorless in their attack cost off the
right,
top of
there
my head.
must be something.
So
Like I look up
most
Zapdos, but it's got colorless in one of the attack costs. So
um wait, what Zapdos?
the I don't know. It's the
Um,
wrong Zapdos. So I forget I said that. But there is what the Zapdos with free retreat,
well,
right?
there's
Wasn't
the
that one?
ability one, but that's doesn't have free retreat. I don't think there's a. Oh, there's a Galarian Zapdos with free retreat. I don't really think Zapdos. Maybe I don't know. Tapu Koko is what I was thinking of. Anyways, like
Was
this
it?
Regieleki is. I don't know. Theoretically, there's some Pokemon that would have free retreat. I'm sure there's some. I can't think of any. But if you do that, then you couldn't play colorless Pokemon.
And that's your choice. You're choosing your
Yeah,
commander. You have any Pokemon to choose from. So just obviously keep that in mind. It's got to have
yeah,
the type,
yeah. But the
this type, the
Pokemon.
symbol on it, right? We're going by type or text as well if it says.
Yeah. So like so was it Black Hiram EX has the dragon symbol in its attack. So that's so that counts.
Okay, it's got the symbol, so that counts. It's got colorless type, as I'm looking at it. It's got water and colors and metal because that's the weakness.
Yeah, yep.
So that's what I could do if I want to go with Black Kyurem EX.
Yep.
Okay. I mean, I think we got it. So
I wonder if there's
I
a
think
Pokemon that like you can't play the previous evolutions because of like the type change or something, but
yeah, with some Terra, probably
well
you
no,
get yourself in
Terras
a
would because they'd have the energy cost would be of the previous evolution, I think. But like there's some Pokemon that just like Vikavolt, I think like because it evolves from grass and it's only lightning, but whatever, don't do that. That's not
There's
that many. I guess there's the evolution. It's the same issue as the GLC Pokemon, but you can still play these Pokemon, just not as your commander. So
right. Just don't make it your commit. Well, as
and I
long as your
guess you,
commander covers all the types
yeah,
you
yeah.
need, that's the big
Mhm.
question.
Yeah, and I guess with
Um,
the evolutions, they have retreat costs as well, and probably colors in their attack costs. So you should be able to use an evolution as a commander if you wanted.
um, yeah. I mean, but you're probably going to want something with a good ability. I'm guessing, right?
Yeah, I'm
A
not
lot of the
exactly
time.
sure. Yeah, probably like Lumineon V. I should do. I remember you said you could do Pidgeot V and then use your ability and then put it back to the zone and then you discard cards and that'll be it. No.
I can do Durant EX, right? And
Well,
just mill
but
it
how are
that
you
way.
gonna? Oh, and then you just like scoop it up. But
I
no,
guess
now
so.
you're
Yeah,
milling yourself. You're discarding cards every time you want to use its ability.
that's true. And with 100 cards decks, wow, that I'm not that you're in for a long evening playing mill,
Maybe I don't think it's
probably.
gonna be that long. I think you're gonna lose fast.
And everyone's gonna gang up on you probably because they're gonna
Well,
hate
you're
you.
only milling like one person at a time, anyways. So you need to mill like 300 cards, whatever.
That that's true. You
I
have to
feel like
mill
decking out's like
everyone.
really hard because there's like recovery in Pokemon. I don't think there's that much recovery in Magic.
Yeah, I mean the whole trainer situation is very different in Pokemon.
Yeah.
You have a lot more agency over the game, I think. So which is good. It's what can make the turns take long. But yeah. So yeah, look, I think so. Okay, so we got a place to start. So try it out. Let us know
Yeah,
what could be
we'll
better.
try it out at
And
some point. We always say this and then we never try it out. But we got it. We made the format.
you have the Pokemon cards for the most part.
Well, you
So
have
I don't
cards
have
too. We
many
don't.
actual.
Well, we have cards. Well, we're not physically together anyways, so it doesn't
I
really.
know. So we see each
Um,
other at times, and that's two of us, and I don't know who we'd
yeah,
play with.
no,
So
we could. I'm sure we'll figure something out. No, I think I want to try to find someone online. If you know of a good four-player or like multiplayer Pokemon client that's not just like two players, that like works kind of okay, then tell us, and we'll try that out. I'm trying to think if there is something like I don't know about like what's it, the tabletop simulator? That's the paid one, right? Which I don't
does
know much about.
okay. Yeah, I don't know if that does for. So
But
you could
I think
build.
well, it's not just a Pokemon thing.
Oh, no, it's any tabletop game. So I
So,
guess
but
is
you
it
like
multiplayer games
yeah. I mean, I
as
assume
well? I
you
guess it
program
is.
in the game, right? Or something.
Oh,
Probably.
the cards. I don't.
Well, no, you program in like you like because when I haven't really seen play of it, but there's like a deck and a discard, right? But
Yeah,
someone needed to say that this game I'm creating has a deck and a discard pile. And so I assume you might be able to say like, oh, this game I'm playing also has four players.
I guess so. Does it allow for four players? Because I assume because you're controlling the mechanics of the game yourself, and
Yeah.
we're basically using the mechanics of the Pokemon TCG. So if it allows four-person versions of games, then and it allows two-player Pokemon, we should be able to put these together. I think.
Uh, yeah.
I mean, the other thing is you go to a game store and you have to have some extra pre-built decks and find some people that are willing to try it. I'm not sure how easy
Yeah.
that's going to be. Um, So that's the challenge. Finding friends is always the gamer's dilemma,
Yeah.
as always. So um,
But we figured something out. I don't know if we figured something out, but we hope you enjoyed the podcast. Consider liking, subscribing, and hitting the bell so you don't miss more. And you can check us out. We do have Discord servers. We might be trying this out online or not. I don't know. I'd be interested in doing that if it is really possible. I don't know if this is any good at all, but it's funny. But we hope you enjoyed. Consider liking, doing all that good stuff, and also check us out on YouTube, on the other channels. So I'm 10 Types on youtube.com/10 Types, and you can find a common fossil on that channel over there. But we hope you enjoyed, and we're excited to see you in the next episode.